Hey guys, it's Kells and we're back at it again with another Friday night live. You guys know that each and every Friday, 7 p.m., I go live so that we can come together as a collective, decompress from the week and all the code switching that we have to do at these people's job every week. And just kick it, shoot the shit, and have a good time with us. This is week 17, I want to say 17. Consistency. It's the consistency for me, and I appreciate you guys so much for being here with me. You know the deal. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Let me know where you are watching from. Drop a flag in the comments if you want to, and what you are sipping on. And yeah, let's get into the things. Also, Replay Gang is strong around here. So if you are not catching us live, no worries. You can always be a part of the Replay Gang. Just drop this emoji in the chat and I'll respond to each and every one of your comments. And then those of us who are catching it live, you know I'm gonna respond to your comments live anyway, because you're here. So we're gonna do it. Oh, look at you guys. You can see my my heater in the back. Yeah, I already see you guys in here. Thanks, guys. Let me know, Ferd. Oh, hey, Ferd from South Africa. What's up, Ferd in the building? Who else is in the building? I see you guys catching us live in here. I so appreciate it. Also, I'm seeing already some likes in the building. I appreciate the love, guys. I appreciate the love. So, seeing as how Ferd was the first one to comment, Ferd, I want you to notice, babe, that I am playing some Amapiano. You guys may have noticed I'm a big Amapiano fan, but I haven't been playing it in a while. But today I had to come in with a little Amapiano because I am just like feeling real called to remind you guys that this is my vibe right now. This Amapiano music from South Africa, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. So that's what we're listening to. I'll drop the direct link to the tune that we're listening to right now in the chat. This has been my favorite one this week. I usually have a new tune that I love each week, and I haven't been sharing it with you guys, but let me know if that's something you want me to share with you, and we can definitely do that. But before we get into it, before we get to sharing any music, you know the deal. Let's do our first cheers of the night. I'm keeping that throat chakra lubricated tonight. You guys can see I'm just sipping on some water tonight. No pomegranate Ciroc. No green tea or anything like that. It's just H2O for the doll, so that we can get to the things and talk to things tonight, yeah? So let's do our cheers. Cheers. Clink, 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 clink. Yes. Yes. So first things first, second things second. Smash that like button. I appreciate the love so much. You guys know that smashing the like button, subscribing is a free and easy way to support the content, to support the channel. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd so appreciate the love as I try to get back my visibility here in these YouTube streets, yes? Second thing second, I'm looking at the feed over here. So whenever you see me look over here, it's because I'm looking at you guys. I'm looking at what you're saying in the chat, and I'm making sure we're coming in crystal clear. So let me confirm that we are coming in crystal clear. And let me, it looks like we are coming in crystal clear. Yes, we are. So, oh my gosh, guys. All right, so it's Friday already. Looking forward to getting into the topic tonight. You already see the subject line, stay young forever, because adulting is a whole scam. It's a whole scam. So if you're in here wondering, how does she pick these topics? Where do these topics come from every week? Every Thursday night, I do a topic drop on my Instagram and here on the community tab on YouTube, where I put 4 options for us to be able to talk about, and you guys make the final selection between YouTube, community tab, and Instagram. And then I get into the things. And so a lot of times it's straight off the dome what we're talking about tonight. Tonight I did have like 5 minutes to make a little tiny bit of a list based on the topic. Hey, Apartment Life View, thanks for joining, boo. I did have time to make a little bit of a list tonight to have a little idea, since y'all want to talk about this whole adulting thing. Oh, it's looking a little bit foggy on my side. I'm hoping that it clears up in a second. It's looking foggy, guys. Oh, Lord. Anyway, hopefully it clears up in a second, or hopefully it's just on my end. Apartment Life View, how's the feed coming in on your end? Is it looking blurry, or is it looking clear on your end? Let me know. I so appreciate you guys if you did. before we get into the things. It's clear on my end. Okay, cool. So it might just be my internet. Hopefully it's not anything too crazy. All right, cool. All right, guys. So first things first, what we do is we go over the topics. I give you a little bit of a background on how these topics even came about. I let you know how you guys voted across Instagram and on YouTube, what you guys wanted to talk about, what the numbers was looking like. And then we get into the topic and I just kind of like share what I'm thinking. And then you guys chime in the comments. And we learn from the collective wisdom of the It's KELLS community around these parts. I see Ruby M in the building. Thank you so much for joining, love. I saw you guys were hanging out waiting for me to go live. And I was pretty much on time today. I mean, I was a few minutes late, but I was just like pushing some content out on Instagram and on Facebook to remind you guys that we're live. We're going live right now. So first things first, let's pull up the numbers. All right, hold on. Let's pull up the numbers on the topics. All right. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Okay, so tonight, let's go over on Instagram and see what you guys voted for, and I'll let you know the background on the topics, yeah? Let's do it. Okay, so our number one topic, or what I placed first on Instagram, and let me just make sure, look at my hand in the middle of the screen, guys. I just gotta turn this a little bit, make sure we're looking good. Hold on. It's part of my hand, my dry hand. My hand probably was ashy. Anyway, the first one was adulting responsibilities no one is prepared for. And that was the first topic topic drop that I did on Instagram. And you can see by the title of this video, that's probably what we're gonna get into tonight, okay? And that came in at 30% of the vote on Instagram, yeah? And then the second, adult responsibilities no one's prepared for. So this is kind of a remake or a remix of last week's option that you guys voted for in number 2 place. And it was kind of like things life doesn't prepare you for. So that's where that topic came from. And so since you guys voted heavy for it last week, and then you're voted heavy for it this week, that's why I decided to make it a topic, yeah? I switched up the wording a little bit just so it could be a little fresh, you know. But yeah, that's what it's a similar topic as last week that you guys voted for number 2. Okay, so number 2, the second option, non-negotiables, is cheating a deal breaker. And so this came up because I saw it on a podcast. I don't know if you guys are watching the what's the girl's name, B Simone and Megan's podcast. I saw it come through on my feed by one of my my sister-in-law's friends had posted it. So I said, let me check out their podcast, see what they're talking about. And I checked it out and I was like, okay, yeah, real relatable. And on there, what they were talking about was cheating as a deal breaker, and the married woman talking about no, it wasn't, and the single girl talking about yes, it was. So I was like, all right, let me bring this to the collective and see what you guys think about it. Y'all on Instagram did vote for that 40%. But you guys know that I look at both the votes on Instagram and YouTube, and then I make a decision on the top topic. So over on Instagram, I know you guys are really looking forward to that non-negotiables is cheating a deal breaker. But that is not the topic that won out tonight. I can talk about it. Maybe I could talk about it in the context of things nobody prepares you for. And I think this is like, yeah, I think we can talk about it in the context of adulting and how big of a scam it is. Okay. And then the third option was, why can't we just like the people who like us? And so this is a topic that I think just came up in conversation with girlfriends, or I may have just been thinking about it myself. And it's like, you always, like, people will, especially when you're out here dating, people will like you, but you never seem to really vibe with the people that like you the most. And I'm just like, what is with that? Is it just that we like things? Is it just that we like the chase? Or why is it that we always seem to not like the people that like us the most? And so I thought that was an interesting topic that we could get into. And you guys picked that at 20% on Instagram. And then the fourth option was growing past your parents, how to deal. So this came up a couple weeks ago where it was kind of like, all right, like, you know, how much grace can you afford your parents? How mad can you be at your parents when you start to get into these real adult situations and you try to look to them for their guidance and they are not able to provide you any real, you know, any real help in certain situations. You kind of grow past them in their, you know, in your life experience. You know what I mean? So like, how do we deal with that? Do we allow them grace, or are we mad at them? Are we disappointed? Like, what's the reality of growing past your parents and seeing them more as maybe friends or associates than actually a parent figure? So that's kind of what the topic was. But on Instagram, you guys only wanted to look at that at 10%. So that was not your fave. So on Instagram, the number one was the non-negotiables, is cheating the deal breaker. And then the second one was adulting responsibilities no one is prepared for. And so that came in at number 2 on Instagram. All right. And so let's hop over to YouTube, the community tab here on YouTube. And I will give you guys the numbers of what they're looking like for that. But first, a little H2O for the doll. Yes. Okay. So you guys who are watching, let me know in the chat which one did you vote for? Because like I think it's interesting, like the people that vote, I'm interested to see or to understand is, when you vote, do you actually tune in to the live, or do you catch it on replay, gang? Or do you vote and not actually, like you just vote, you like to vote, but you don't actually like to tune in? Like I always am interested, like what did you guys vote for, that ones who are actually watching us? Yeah. I think that's really interesting. Okay, so on the YouTube community tabs, did the same 4 options. Adulting responsibilities no one is prepared for came in at 42%, which is the number 1, which is why you guys can see that's the topic we're covering tonight. And then non-negotiables is dating a deal breaker. Apartment Live View says she voted for is cheating a deal breaker. Okay, that only came in at 25% on YouTube. And then at another 25%, so we had a tie for second place. Why can't we just like the people who like us? And that came in at 25% on the YouTube community tab. And then outgrowing your parents, how to deal, that came in at 8% on YouTube. So you guys can see that the number 1 and number 2 were always adulting responsibilities no one is prepared for. And then non-negotiables is cheating a deal breaker, that came in at number 2 as well. And so in the past weeks, you guys know, if you've been here, you guys know I have been choosing the number 1 typically that comes up on Instagram. But tonight I had to give it to YouTube. I had to give it to the YouTube community and do the topic that you guys chose at 42%, which was responsibilities nobody is prepared for as an adult. Yeah. So I appreciate you guys so much for voting in these, sending me DMs on topics, letting me know what you guys want to talk about, and chiming in on the comments and just like engaging the channel like you guys are doing. So appreciate you. Okay. So I think we can get into the topic. Yeah, let's adulting responsibilities no one is prepared for. And then you can see the subject line of this, stay young forever because adulting is a whole scam. It's a whole scam, guys. It's a whole scam. So, okay. So I have a little bit of a list here that I made of the things that I think nobody really prepares you for when you get into adulthood. And I think the number 1 thing for me, and let me know in the comments, because I think this is a really interesting topic for us to chime in on, because I feel like in everybody's life, there's certain things that happen that you're like, dang, nobody said anything about that. Nobody said anything about, you know, how hard it was going to be to do X, Y, Z, or how easy it was. Well, usually easy, but you know, how hard it was going to be to do X, Y, Z, or this, you know, Z, Y, X or whatever. I think Ruby and I were talking earlier, and we were talking about how when you're younger, how quick you want to grow up, how quick you want to get into to be an adult, because you're just like, oh my God, being adult seems like it's so much fun. Like you don't have to, you got your own money, you have your own place, hopefully you have your own car, nobody's forcing you to do nothing. You can eat, sleep, you know, do whatever you want, whenever you want. It just looks like so much fun. It looks like so much fun. Lene says adulting is what I voted for. A whole scam. It's a whole scam, cousin. A whole scam, sis. And so, but from the outside, right? So, think back when you were, when you were 12, 13, 14, 15, especially in those teenage years. We really looked at adulting and we thought, dang, I can't wait to get out of these people's house. I can't wait to drive my own car, to have my own place. We really, really was out there like, wishing that we were much older than we needed to be, because we just thought it just looked like so much fun. It looked like so much like boss, kind of things. Little did we know, now you're in this adult thing and it is whooping your behind. And I'm not gonna say like not every instance, right? But there are a lot of instances where where we're into this adult thing and I'm like, if they had said something, if they had told me that it was gonna be like this, I probably would have lavished my little youth a little bit longer than, trying to rush and, overtake my parents for the authority in the house. You know what I mean? Or overtake, these people around me that think they're the boss of me. You're not the boss of me. Wait till I get an adult. And now look. Wish we could live in somebody else's house and not have a mortgage. Wish we didn't have these bills. Wish we didn't have these responsibilities and all of that. And so there are a few things that I feel like, okay, somebody should have probably said something. Somebody should have probably said something. And some of them are a bit more serious and some of them are a little bit more lighthearted. And so we're going to try to keep it light on the kickbacks. You guys know we do these Friday night kickbacks, 7 p.m. every Friday, just to decompress from the week. And so I'm going to try to keep it light, but there are some serious kind of things that we need to talk about. Because this whole adulting thing, oh my God, it is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the faint of heart. You have to have some courage to really do this thing how it's supposed to be done. Okay. First things first, aging. And I'm looking at aging in two separate categories. I'm looking at you aging and I'm looking at your parents aging and the responsibilities that you have to take over when they start to age. Now, we all hear that people, once you get 30 or once you get 40 or once you get whatever age, hey, DB, what's up? Whatever age, you hear people talking about, oh, the knees, oh, this, oh, that, oh, my back. Or, dang, I used to be able to go out and drink and then jump back up and get in the office by 8 or get to work by, 9 or things like that. But then when that age start creeping up on you, all the little cute things that you used to do when you were 21 and 22 is not the same things that you could do when you're 30. You know what I mean? They are not the same things that you could do, when you're creeping up in age. And so I think that's like kind of nobody, I think that one people actually warn you about quite a bit. They let you know that, oh, you ain't no spring chicken, or, wait till age, catch you. Like, you hear about that one a lot. But I think the one in terms of age that you don't hear about a lot is when your parents start to age. And it can be quite disorienting when the people that you look up to as your authority figures, or the people that you look up to that you think you can always get a word of encouragement from, or a word of advice from, or who can give you, something to say, they kind of start to wither down a little bit. Maybe their intellect gets a little bit slower, their memory gets slower, their capacity to handle their own finances and to handle their own house, kind of decreases a little bit. You can see that their medical stuff needs a bit more attention and things like that. And I think nobody really warns you about that unless you've lived in a household where like your grandparents had to come and live in your house with you. If you didn't have that experience of like an older person coming to live in your household, you might be shocked by how much responsibility you have as an adult, taking over the adultness, or taking over the matriarch or the patriarch position in your family. You might be surprised at how much work, how many decisions you have to make, and how disorienting and scary it could kind of be when you see the people that were your beacons of strength and your beacons of like maybe resilience, or your beacons of keeping the household running, when you see them start losing their capacity to do that. I feel like it's not only scary on your end, but I feel like it's a little scary for them. And if your parents, if your parents are baby boomers, like how my parents are baby boomers, They barely talk about anything. They barely express their feelings. They just be scared and acting out in a way that nobody understands. And the reality is that they're scared and they don't know how to process their emotion. They're scared or they're fearful, or, and they've never even thought about going to therapy to be able to, accurately express their emotions and process their emotions or process their traumas. And so instead of, when things happen, they just act out of character and nobody knows what's going on. And the reality is that they're experiencing emotions that they never learned how to process because therapy was for crazy people, not for them. Meanwhile, baby boomer generation got some of the most trauma that they passed down. You know what I mean? And so your parents might be getting old, acting out, stubborn, don't want to move here, don't want to go there, don't want to do this, don't want to take their medicine, don't want to go to the doctor, don't want to go to the dentist. And you find yourself like battling with them as if they're some sort of kid to get them to do what they need to do, because now you're the adult in the household and they need to listen to you. And so it feels a little bit like the tables have turned. You remember when you was a teenager and then people try to tell you to do this and come home at this time and you ain't want to do nothing what they told you to do? You ain't want to do, or they feel it's judgment. Exactly. They feel like it's judgment, or who is my child to tell me what to do at this time, when you're losing your capacity. You know what I mean? And, I'm trying to help. You know what I mean? We're trying to help, right? And so remember when you were a teenager and, remember when you were a teenager and people try to tell you all these things and you felt like you knew everything. I'm invincible. You don't tell me what to do. I can do this. So you don't even know what's going on. And now the tables have wholes flipped. The tables have whole flipped because now you're trying to tell them some things and they're over there feeling judged. They're scared, don't know that feeling that they're feeling is scared. So they turn it into judgment. They don't know how to process nothing. They don't want to listen to you. They don't want to take their pills. And you're there wrestling with them. And let you be in a stage of life where not only your parents are aging, but you're aging. And then you have children. You have toddlers. You have babies. So you in the middle squished. You got the kids on this side turning your head crazy. You got the old people on this side driving you nuts, trying to, put you wrestling for authority with them. You aging the knees, the back, the knees in the back, and you and the people them job, you think, and all of that. And it's just so much responsibility. Stay young. Adulting is a whole scam. Growing old, aging is a whole scam. Adulting is only cute. Honestly, the time that I felt like adulting was cute was when I was in college. I felt like adulting was cute because you were that age where you were out of your parents' house. You could do whatever you wanted. I mean, like whatever you wanted. And you had barely little responsibility, some studying, some whatever, student organizations, whatever, study abroad, okay, whatever, financial aid, loans, all of that, all right, okay, whatever. But you could go to bed at 3 a.m., be back up at your 9 a.m. class, you look good, you could eat a cheeseburger for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you still be all right, you could go party. There were so many people around. Like, I felt like that age when you're in college and like just finished college is the best adulting years. But as those years go on, my God, why nobody ain't say nothing? They just out here making adulting look great. Like all you're doing is having sex, and traveling and something like that. When the responsibilities is crazy, especially when that aging all across the board comes into play. Yeah. I see you guys chiming in the comments. I just saw 2333 on the clock. So if you're into numbers, 333 energy in the building. Yeah, let me take a sip and we'll get back into it. Cheers. Clink, 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 clink. What are you guys sipping on? Anybody sipping on anything good? I'm just over here drinking water, you know what I mean? Sipping on that H2O, keeping throat chakra intact for the Friday night kickback. But if you're sipping on something more interesting, let me know. Drop it in the comments. Yeah, I want to see what y'all are sipping on. Okay, so we're talking about staying young forever because adulting is a whole scam. Peter Pan syndrome over here. Things that nobody ever warned us about. Why didn't they warn us, DB? Why did they not warn us that adulting was a scam and that we should have stayed young forever? All right. So I will say this, like I'm trying to say this situation here, but it's like, I will say this. It is a bit scary, right? It is a bit scary to try to step into the authority in your family because I believe, excuse me, the accountability. When you're young, you can kind of skirt accountability. You know what I mean? Because, you're not the head of the household. You're not the parent. You're not the one, unless you do something dramatic where they're charging you as an adult for some crime. For the most part, you are, you can skirt responsibility for a lot of things. Yeah. But once you're stepping and taking over the matriarch position in your house, or you're taking over the patriarch position, that accountability for the decisions that you make, that thing hits you like a Mack truck. There is nobody that's going to be blamed but you. And this is another reason why, I don't know if you guys noticed, but mothers get blamed for a lot. Everybody blame their mother, even when it's a single mother and the father left the household, people blame their mother. People blame the mother. Even when the two parents is in the household, people be blaming their mother for stuff. And so I feel like not only as a mother, and I think fathers get the shit end of the stick sometimes too, because people think fathers are incapable or something. But it's just interesting when you are the parent in the household, how much blame you actually get for things. And I think you don't realize that until you're in that position. Until you are the adult and you're the head of the household and your decisions go for everybody and then you're wholly accountable for that. Financially, spiritually in the household, educationally, especially if you have children. If you don't have children, it's a little less, you're only accountable for yourself. But if you have a family, that level of accountability for the safety and the sanctity of your household and your children, that's an immense responsibility that I don't think anybody really prepares you for. Even if you live in a household with your parents, you're just like, woo, lights always on, water's always running, food is always in the fridge, even if it's Pop-Tarts and Vienna sausage and bread and bologna. There's always, there's food in the fridge, and you don't even know what it takes to keep the lights on and to keep it going until you step into that role. And so, if you are wholly accountable for that, and I think the levels of accountability as an adult really seem like they only increase over time. You know what I mean? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I see you guys chiming in. I'm about to jump in the comments and see what you guys are saying. Yeah. I think accountability and the decisions are the second and third one for. So we talked about aging of everybody across the board. We talked about the accountability and the level of, responsibility that you have for things when they go right, and accountability when they go wrong. You know what I mean? And being able to still try to be the backbone, right? And you have nobody to blame or your parents to look to. That's a serious thing when you're talking about adulting. Yeah. The decisions the accountability for the decisions you make, and then the sheer numbers of decisions that you have to make on the daily. You got to make where you going to live, where you going to buy, should you rent, should you sell, should you work there, should you not, it's so many decisions that you have to make as an adult, and it can be overwhelming. Because half the time it be decision fatigue. And sometimes you're so fatigued from making all these decisions, you end up procrastinating. Because you're just like, oh my God, how much is it? What they want now? Where I'm supposed to be at? Well, how much is the uniform? Okay, well, the gas is what now? All right, well, should we pay? It's so many decisions that you have to make as an adult. And yeah, I don't think they warned us about it. Especially almost a little bit the bigger life you live, the more decisions that you have to make. And you're trying to maybe navigate to a certain place or to drive towards your goals or your accomplishments. And there's so many decisions along the path that you could be stifled by them, because you feel like, oh dang, I might make a wrong turn, and will I be able to recover? I feel like a lot of times when we get older, get into adulting, you become more risk averse. You don't want to take risks like that because you're just concerned about your ability to recover. I feel like when you're younger, you can take these big risks and like, oh my God, you can start a business at 20, you can fail by 25, start another one at 26, you know, fail by 28, start another one, and then by 32, be a millionaire. You know, you always hear these kind of like corny stories that these people be saying. But I feel like the concept behind it is that you have a long, lead time, runway. You have like this long runway. And when you're like younger and like, especially when you don't have that many responsibilities, but as we get older, as we get into adulting and you become the head of the household, your runway starts to like shrink, you know what I mean? And I don't know if that's reality or if it's just perception. You guys let me know, like, does that runway really dramatically shrink, or is it just like you're getting old and you know, old people be getting scary? Let me know. Yeah. You guys know we go live each and every Friday night, 7 p.m. for our Friday night kickbacks, where we get to decompress from the week and all the code switching that we have to do at these people's work on the daily. We're over here learning from the collective wisdom of the itskellscollective community, and just like, yeah. And well, I'm looking at the chat, sorry, and I lost my train of thought. Learning from the collective wisdom of the itskellscollective community, and just like showing my face and seeing what you guys have got into for the week as promised. This is week 17. It's the consistency for me. And you guys know we do the topic drop every Thursday night on Instagram and on YouTube. You guys pick the final selection topic out of the 4 that we drop. And on Friday night, 7 p.m., we get into it live on YouTube. So here we go. If you are catching us live, I so appreciate you guys. I see you guys in the comments. I'm about to jump in the comments and see what you guys have to say. And if you are part of the replay gang, drop this emoji in the comments. Let me know that you are still tuned in for our hot takes. As we get into it, let me jump into the comments. I see you guys engaging us tonight, and then we'll get back to the other things on my list, because I do have some other little lists of how this whole adulting thing is a whole scam and nobody warned us about it. So, all right. We have our moderators, Ruby M in the building and Apartment Life View. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in and for moderating the comments. Last week, Apartment Life View was over there blocking the nonsense. But this week, I don't know. I don't think she's as trigger happy, which is good. Also, I don't think we have any trolls this week, so that's good. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday, Rubes. Ferd is letting us know that amapiano is a Zulu word meaning the piano. We are still waiting for the dance, Kel. I want to go to an amapiano party so, like, in real life so bad. And the only place I've seen it in the US so far was in DC. I'm waiting for it to come to Atlanta. And if not, I will go to London. I will go to Dubai. I will go to South Africa this summer or towards the end of this year and really try to get into some of the dance moves. But I have been watching the girls on YouTube, so I'm brushing up on my shoulder movements and things like that, because they are sharp. They are sharp. Ruby is saying maybe it's a grass is greener mentality kind of thing. I think we were going through the topic options there and we're talking about why don't we like people who like us? I think that's where you chimed in. Okay. All right. Ruby was saying, I really could not wait to grow up, and look at us now. Look at us now. Lene in the building, DB in the building, Sean Sullivan in the building. What's up, Sean? Lene was saying that sometimes the parents feel judged. They feel judgment when they are kind of losing their authority in the household and the family, and they kind of like are aging, and then we are kind of ascending to the throne. You know what I mean? And the accountability and the responsibility of that. Okay. All right. And so let's see, struggling to keep up. So Lene is talking about struggling to keep up with the children and the job and the family and the aging parents and the aging body yourself and all of that, all these things, struggling with this whole adulting thing. DB says growing old isn't for the faint of heart. Not at all. Not at all. You definitely have to summon up a level. Every year you have to renew your courage. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, you start to see, like when you start to see people dying, friends that, friends, family, and they start passing away, and you're just like, oh my God, like, yo, when you're young, you barely see anybody die. But as you start to grow older, as you start to age, you start seeing people knock out. And it's just like, whoo, courage to keep going. You know what I mean? The courage, and all of that. And then and just trying to maintain the peace as you go through, you know what I mean? Oh my gosh. So Ferd is saying my son and 4 daughters are all adults. Okay, so 5 children. He says, sometimes I'm the child. My daughters protect me from other women. Okay, also from a bad area, the Bush War, and a former cop. My health's still good. Okay, so your children start looking out for you, Ferd, and and letting you, I guess, relax a little bit because they're all adults. You did your job of raising them. You know what I mean? But it is pretty scary for children to like take over for their parents. You know what I mean? I feel like that's where a lot of us are. Is like, oh, it's getting real. You know what I mean? It's getting really real. Okay. Linnea is saying that's why mental health is very important. So important. And I feel like the baby boomer generation was so resistant and reluctant to getting the mental health support that they needed. It was like, it wasn't even in their awareness that they needed mental health support. And if it was, they looked down their nose at it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, so many of that generation was born into poverty, born out of war, born out of genocide, born out of racism and Jim Crow, and born out of trauma, and did not get the mental health support that they needed to process that trauma, and then just passed it down to the generations after. You know what I mean? And I'm sure the generation before that, the World War I generation, all of them, I'm sure they had their trauma too. But I feel like it's our generation now. I feel like it's the millennials and what's the one after millennials? Is it Z? The little TikTok generation. I feel like they're really into, we're really into mental health, and there's a very low stigma about it, even in the Black community, because, and even in the brown community and yellow community and all whatever colors you want to call it, because, people of color be the most judgmental half the time. And so if you're like, oh, I'm in therapy, or my therapist said, they're looking at you like, you need therapy, you need therapy. Yes, I need therapy so that I don't pass down that trauma. You know what I mean? And that generational curses that y'all just felt like kicking the can on, it's gonna stop with me. And so I'm gonna get through the processing of trauma, knowing how to understand my emotions. I'm gonna do the work. You know what I mean? And that's what that is for our generation, and do it without a stigma. And in fact, not only is there not a stigma, it's like applauded. Like, yes, quiet as is kept. I don't even want to date anybody who hasn't been to therapy. What am I doing with you if you haven't processed, what it's like to be you, you know what I mean? And maybe it's not therapy that's needed, but there is some sort of processing needed. Otherwise, you're just going to be walking around like a bag lady, just like Ruby, we were talking about, Erykah Badu walking around carrying so much trauma and things that you need to let go of and don't even realize, and then wanting to lay that emotional burden on your partner, thinking that your partner is supposed to help you process, your trauma and your emotions. Your partner is not there to help you to be responsible for you processing your trauma and your emotions and your generational issues. They are just there to process their own, you process yours, and you guys do it, together. But if you're thinking that you're not going to do it and you're going to lay all your baggage on your partner and all of that, like, you have to be real careful. So I would say, like, even now I'm looking like, look, if we're dating, you have to have done some real work to process all that we absorbed from our family. You know what I mean? So, and I feel like everyone has trauma, even people that grown up seem like they grew up in the most privileged, best environment. There's always something that needs to be processed. And sometimes when you try to process it in your own mind, it's difficult, but sometimes you need a professional to help you process. So ain't no shame in that game. I'm so glad this generation is very open to that and open to getting the help that we need. You know what I mean? And maybe helping other family members, our baby boomers and things like that, be able to get the help that they need without feeling judged. Okay. Peace and love is saying it's a mental matter. I believe responsibility will make a person feel that they are losing the length in their motivational area of, so it will run away. I'm having a hard time, but yeah, after some time I need the rest of airspace, mental health, please warm bath and some calming sounds, dim the lights. Okay, so peace and love is just talking about the mentality and needing to soothe yourself because of the level of responsibility can get overwhelming. And so there are some things that you can do to self-soothe. And I think that's what what's your pronouns? Peace and love. And if you guys have an ambiguous name, drop your pronouns in the chat. Sometimes I just be assuming what you are, and if you want to go by they, let me know. If you want to go by he or she, let me know. If you have a strict opinion about it, or if I mess up your pronouns, definitely feel free to let me know. So peace and love, I'm gonna go with he, but let me know if you want to go by they or if you are a she. Okay. Yeah, so Rubes is talking about ADHD at 31. And so these are things that you are living with that you don't even realize that are issues until you go and seek the help that you need. And I feel like that's something we really do. I think if there's one thing for us to be really proud of as adults is our ability to recognize that there may be an issue, or even generationally, there may be an issue that we don't want to progress, and us to seek the help that we need. And if you're not there yet, but you're hearing this and you're like, dang, I really think there's a problem, take this as your sign that it is okay to go seek the help, go get on the medication, go get whatever you need to make your adulting life easier. I was watching, okay, don't judge me. Don't judge me. It came through on my doggone YouTube, and it was the stupid Kardashians' new show on Hulu, and it was like episode number 2, and it had came through on my YouTube feed. So I was like, oh, fine, let me just see what they're talking about. So I watched a little bit of it, and they were talking about Chloe. We know Chloe, the tall blonde one. And Chloe was talking about, how much stress she's under with the paparazzi and everybody, like, just anything she does, anything she posts, they rip it to shreds. Because we know the internet has gotten really toxic. Like, social media used to be fun. Social media ain't that fun no more. People be really ripping the people them to shreds. So Chloe was talking about that. And then she was saying, and I knew this because when I went to college, I noticed people be popping pills. And minorities sometimes, Black people sometimes don't like to take medication like that. But I noticed that, predominantly white people, they I noticed that sometimes they just take whatever they need to take. And Chloe was saying how she takes beta blockers. And I was like, beta blocker? What's a beta blocker? Because she was talking about it in the context of alleviating the stress and the anxiety of her day-to-day life. And I was like, what's a beta blocker? I knew y'all had to be on something. So I Googled it. And the only thing that came up was, it was talking about adrenaline and high blood pressure. And it was helping with high blood pressure and adrenaline and things like that. And so I think it's something that's supposed to like help you keep your body calm and keep your hormones in check. And I was just like, okay. I've definitely heard of that before. I've been talked to a therapist and they asked me, do I want something for anxiety? And of course I was like, no, I'm okay. But now I'm like, am I just coping with a high level anxiety as an adult, or should I get something? You know what I mean? And so it's definitely something that's come up in my life. So I thought it was interesting that I saw that same kind of a similar scenario come up on them Kardashian people and them taking pills to deal with their anxiety. And so the ADHD or anxiety or things like that as an adult is definitely, something that I think we might all deal with quietly. But when things start to hit the fan and life really starts to get heavy, maybe it's okay to seek support, you know what I mean? In whatever capacity. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So DB saying we shy away from mental health solutions in the Black and brown community. Trust me, I've been through it where my ex-spouse suffered from mental health. Needless to say, the word is ex. Yeah, people need so much encouragement to get the help that they need, and there's like so much shame and stigma around it. But I remember even my dad, you know, he was one time anxiety has always been my thing. And he was like, you know, this is an old Jamaican man. And he was like, you know, if you need help, then seek the help you need. And meanwhile, a lot of other people's parents would have been like, nothing no wrong with you. Nothing no wrong with you. Go study your book. Go study your Bible. Go pick up the Bible. Go pray. You know, go talk to pastor. Go talk to father this, father that. And that helps too. But sometimes you need the help of a professional. And sometimes you need medication. And that's okay. You know what I mean? And I think I came from a household where my father was like, okay, and he said, and verbally said, if you need help, go get it. Now, did he need help? Yes. Did he go get it? No. So the example was not what was spoken, but he still empowered me and held space for me to get the help that I needed whilst not getting the help he needed. But, you know, that's how parents be. And I hope, you know, we talking about adulting tonight. So if you notice that you're okay to help your children do something that you yourself know you don't be doing, just notice. We notice, children notice. So anyway, continue on in the comments. Rubes is saying, first ever in my family to go to therapy and proud of the work, but it's a lot to undertake. Absolutely. Another thing that we're gonna have to do a whole video on therapy, but another thing that I want to say to you guys is sometimes when you get into therapy and you start to unpack the trauma, you get physical symptoms. You feel physical pain in your body. And I never expected that. Like, I thought you would be talking to somebody and maybe you would cry and you would have emotional, you would feel emotional, stress or something like that. Because, you're obviously like rehashing situations from your childhood or rehashing triggers that are happening to you currently around money or career or love. You would think that you would have some like emotional triggers. But why did I experience physical response to therapy? Irritable bowel and like digestion issues, a lot to have to do with anxiety, basically. A lot of digestive issues and insomnia issues and things like that. It's like when you start to unpack your traumas and when you start to try to process and work through them, your body physically expels, or your body physically tries to hold on to different things. So it's not even just a mental exercise. It can be physical as well. And I never hear anybody talk about that. People love therapy, but I'm like, the physical symptoms for therapy is serious. You know what I mean? Let me know if you guys have experienced any of that. But that's something that I'm like, nobody ever said that. People just be out here not saying nothing. Anyway, Ferd, thank you for being here, babe. I know it's super late in South Africa. I appreciate my international viewers so much who usually catch us on Saturday night, but Ferd usually stays up and catches us live on Friday night. Appreciate you so much, Ferd. Have a good night. So peace and love, it says, it's just me, Kells. I'm a single male. Okay, so good. Thanks for dropping the pronouns. And yes, therapy is a huge conversation perhaps for a Friday night. Yes, the gut has more neuroreceptors than the brain. So that makes sense. Thanks, Ruth, for dropping that. Anyway, so smash that like button for the conversation that we are having tonight. We are talking about adulting and all of the things that people don't warn you about, all the responsibilities that they don't warn you about. Growing up is a whole scam. Adulting is a whole scam. If you could stay young forever, I would advise that you do so. All right, so getting back into a few more topics. So we talked about aging of yourself, of your parents, and being in that sandwich generation where you're dealing with your children if you have them, and your aging parents if you're still blessed to have them, and then your aging self. So hey, Kimmy, what's up? Hey, girl. And so we talked about aging as an adult and how that's a whole scam. We talked about making decisions and being accountable for your household. Nobody to blame for anything. It's all on you. All them decisions that you have to make, you have to be accountable for them as an adult. And so that's a whole thing. And now I want to get into something that I feel like a lot of us don't talk about as adults and that you're not prepared for. I want to say the loneliness. Is it me? Or is being an adult lonely sometimes? Even if you have a spouse. Even if you have a spouse, I feel like being an adult is it can be lonely. It can be lonely. And you could be in the midst of a big old family. You could be sleeping next to your spouse. You could have children. But I feel like it's a loneliness of maybe relatability, or I don't know. And I think people think, a lot of single people, I'll say this, a lot of single people think that they're lonely because they're single, and that if they found their partner, they would be less lonely. But the truth of the matter is, in a lot of instances, I'm not going to say every, but in a lot of instances, I realize that people could be paired up, could be married, and be lonely as hell. Be lonely as hell. I remember I interned in New York City. New York City is the loneliest place I have ever visited. I remember I was interning in New York City in Manhattan, and I was staying with cousins in Southside Jamaica, Queens. First time I ever lived, outside of South Florida suburbs. I was in Southside Jamaica, Queens, and I used to have to take the dollar cab to the Sutphin or something like that stop, and then take the orange line, E or the F or something, straight into Manhattan. And then I was interning at a PR agency called Noella Lane, and then I was working front desk at Ruby's Family's front desk hotel in Times Square. So I was working probably 70 hours, 35 in the internship and another maybe 35 or 30 at the front desk of the hotel, because at the time the internship was unpaid. So to be able to afford, I had to work and intern. And then I was sleeping with cousins who I never really met outside of when I was 5 or so. I was staying with them in Southside Jamaica, Queens, and they treated me so well. And as I was traveling on the train from Queens into Manhattan day and night, the people on the train were so lonely. And the train would be packed, but there was just this overwhelming sense of loneliness and isolation that I could pick up on. And I'm relatively sensitive, spiritually and energetically. And I didn't know this at the time because I was in college at this time. And so I was interning and working and just trying to hustle and try to figure out how I could make this college thing make me money. And so internship was a part of that. So I just would be on the train and I'd be listening to music, and the people around me would feel so lonely, and it spooked me a little bit because it was packed. Imagine you're on a train, on a metro or whatever they call it in New York, and it was so lonely. There was one time I was sitting with my music in my ears, and there was a dude sitting across from me, a young dude. He probably looked at the time probably like 25, you know what I mean, 27. And I was younger. I was like 20 or maybe 21 or something like that. And he was sitting on the train and he was drinking. He was drinking out of one of them little eighth, or I don't even know what this little thing is. But he was drinking and, acting weird. And I'm listening to my music, but I'm watching him on the periphery. I got these big eyes, so I could see exactly what's going on. You know what I mean? Yeah, Sutphin, the E and the F, exactly, GB. I think it was orange. And he was drinking, and something in me said, if he takes another swig, I was looking at him, I was like, what is he so angsty about? Why he's sitting on the train drinking like that? And I said in my head, I'm listening to the music, I said, if he takes another swig out of that liquor, whatever he's drinking, I'm gonna take off my headphones and I'm gonna ask him if he's all right. I don't know what compelled me. It must have been spirit. At the time, I don't know, but it must have been spirit. So of course he spun off the top and took another swig and closed it back. And I took off my headphones and I said, you all right? And he was shocked. And he looked around like he was shocked I could see him. He looked around, like he was shocked I could see him. And I was like, I can see you. Are you all right? And he said, yeah, I'm all right. And I got scared for 1 second. I felt fear come up in me. And as soon as I felt fear, the doors opened and 2 police officers walked in. And I was just like, whoo, what compelled me to talk to that guy? But I really feel like it was spirit at that time. And he just needed to recognize that you are not alone. You're not lonely. People can see you. You know what I mean? I felt like he needed a touch of humanity. You know, he needed a reminder that he's not alone. You're not isolated. And so I feel like being an adult, we don't talk about how lonely it can be. You know what I mean? And even when you're married, even when you're in a partnership, even when you have children, even when you're single and you live by yourself, in all of those instances, you can be lonely. You know what I mean? What's the solution to that? I have no idea. But the reality is that I feel like we feel a sense of loneliness a lot, and we might self-medicate, we might drink, we might do drugs, we might watch porn. I'm hearing that a lot of y'all be into that. You know, we might get a sex addiction. We might cut all kinds of things to remind ourselves of our humanity because we're so lonely. You know what I mean? And I don't really know what the solution to that is. You know, there's always some self-soothing that you can do in terms of like maybe volunteering or, you know, expressing how you're feeling or trying to connect on a deeper level with maybe friends or even in an online community like how we're doing here on the channel. But I think that's ways that we can alleviate that loneliness. But I think it's something that nobody talks a lot about as an adult experience. And I feel like a lot of people experience it. And I feel like when COVID hit and we had to go into quarantine, that's when people realized that, whoa, the loneliness can really do a number on you. And I feel like adults were kind of already lonely, but then when you couldn't mask it by going out to brunch and going into the office and, you know, doing all these things, when you were stuck not being able to have that shallow connection. So you were a little bit lonely, you had these shallow connections, so it was okay. But then when we were in quarantine and those shallow connections got stripped away, I just saw 5555 on the clock, if you're into numbers. When those shallow connections got stripped away, then that loneliness amplified. You know what I mean? And people drank their behinds off and all kinds of things to try to self-soothe. But I think loneliness is a thing that happens in adulthood that we don't talk a lot about. Okay? I think the last thing that I'm going to talk about that they don't talk a lot about with adulting is children. Now, full disclosure, I am an auntie. I do not have children on my own, but there are a lot of people around me that have children, and a lot of women especially. When I moved to Atlanta at the beginning of the pandemic, like I moved to Atlanta the last week in February. By the second week in March, clink, 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 we was in lockdown, okay? And every one of the 4 or 5 women, I'm gonna say 4, and I say 5 because my hairdresser I met when I got here. But I knew about 4 family members, friends or family members that lived in Atlanta before I got here. And let me tell you that by the end of 2020 or 2021, every last one of them was pregnant, including my hairdresser. Okay, so there are a lot of women that I know that are auntie gang. What's up, Laura? A lot of women that I knew got pregnant or have babies. And the thing that people don't tell you is how incredibly difficult it is to be a parent and to work full time and to try to maintain yourself and to try to maintain your marriage and to try to raise these children. That paid parental leave that you always hear them talking about politically, that that the US is like one of the worst countries. We don't have any mandatory paid parental leave. And those things are important, and you don't realize it until you become a parent, especially a mom, because it's your body going through the traumatic, you know, the hormonal changes, the physical changes. You might have to have C-section, you might have to have major surgery, you might have major hemorrhaging and blood loss, major medical issues around raising your child. And then that 4th trimester, you know, they call, you know, the baby takes 3 trimesters to get here. And then that 4th trimester of recovering your body, trying to learn how to breastfeed, trying to get situated to this new being. You don't even really love the baby. You don't even barely love the baby yet. You know what I mean? You're trying to learn, you know, you're trying to learn it, and you know, all of these things, people don't, the generation before us, I don't think they fully expressed how seriously challenging that is. The one thing I'm a little bit mad about them on is they didn't advocate the government, they didn't lobby the government hard enough for us to have the benefits that are needed as parents. And so it's not until you become a parent and a whole adult in these streets that you realize, oh my God, like this is a setup. This is a whole setup. Nobody was gonna say how hard it was. Nobody was gonna advocate for the right benefits for working parents. Nobody was gonna advocate for affordable childcare. Nobody was gonna advocate for the healthcare, the correct healthcare for parents. Like it's just a whole bunch of things that you don't realize until you hit that whole adulthood and you start having these children. You know what I mean? And it seems like the government only wants us to have these children so they can make more employees. They don't set you up properly so that you just default into this employee. You default into these cash cows and you just go into the capitalistic industrial complex. You know what I mean? And so you're just not set up properly. And we don't talk enough about that, I feel like, as adults. Yeah. Adulting is hard. It's fun. There's some good things about it. There's definitely some good things if you're able to set yourself up well. But there's a lot of things that nobody tells you about. You know what I mean? And that's what we're getting into tonight. If you could stay young forever, it's advisable. 10 out of 10 would recommend stay about 22 forever. Now, if you can't, just know that here are a few things that you probably need to just keep in the back of your head. I wouldn't worry about them, but just know that, you know, we tell you a little bit of what it's like to really be an adult as you get up into age and as you start to take over as the head of your family, and you know you're in that sandwich generation where you're starting to have these children, plus your parents are aging, and it's a lot. They ain't say a thing to us. They didn't say nothing. The only thing my mom is a Jamaican lady, and she comes from the country, and you know, there's this old saying, and I'm gonna try to get it right because I don't want my accent sometimes. But they said she always would say if I would ask her anything, she would say she would recite this kind of parable to me, and she would say, "Hag axe mama, what make your mouth so long?" Hag say, "You are grow, you will see." So it means a piglet asked the big mom why his snout is so big and long, and the big pig said, "You're growing, you will see, you will find out." And so she would say that, and so it was just kind of alluding to, oh, there's a whole bunch of things that you have to cross that bridge when you get there, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But I'm like, y'all could have said something. Y'all could have said something. You know, but you know, maybe they had different experiences or different things that worried them different than us. But you know, tonight we got into a little of the things that adulting, the realities that nobody ever prepares us for. Okay, we talked about aging, we talked about decision-making, accountability, we talked about loneliness, we talked about children and the realities of working and trying to raise children and trying to maintain your relationships, whether it's your relationship with self or it's your relationship with your lover or both. You know what I mean? We talked a little bit about death. That is a hard one to swallow, especially when you're talking about the death of your parents, if you've had a good relationship with your parents. I feel like a lot of us millennials and a lot of us Gen Z have really close relationships with our parents. Borderline that our parents kind of were like the hovering parents that, helicopter, what do they call them? The helicopter parents. And you have really, really close relationships with them. And when they start to pass away, whoa. It can take several years to get back on your feet. And that's the reality of it. And even when they, trigger warning, even when they start to age and they start to get older and you see them getting older and you're thinking that you're preparing, you're thinking that, okay, you know, my parents are getting older, or my mom's getting older, my dad's getting older. Okay, you know, everyone dies. It's the paperwork, and let me make sure that I know their wishes. What do they want me to do with the house? Where do they want to be buried? Do they want to be cremated? You know, you're lucky if your parents even will articulate these things to you. You're lucky if they will even articulate these things to you. You know what I mean? But maybe you feel like, okay, I'm being responsible. I'm doing all these, and we're prepared for this. When they actually pass away, you can only take it breath by breath. You can only take how it feels moment by moment, because it is immense. I see some people, when I looked at the older generation, and when they're, even now, like I had an aunt, she's probably 60, okay? And her mom, it's three of them, so there's, all three, two aunts and an uncle. They're about 60, all of them, say between the ages of 60 and 68. And their mom died, and their mom was 85. And when their mom died, these are my, baby boomer generation. When their mom died, it seemed like they were sad, but not really. Even when my grandmother passed away, or all my grandparents passed away, when I would see my parents, it seemed like they were sad, but it didn't seem debilitating. So I didn't realize what it actually felt like. Then when my dad passed away, it was crippling. And I couldn't understand how come it seemed less crippling to all of the generations around me, my parents included, but for me, it was like breath by breath, like you'd have to just breathe. You could only think, just breathe, just take the next breath, just take the next breath. So I kind of want to say that to y'all, just so it's maybe not the first time you're hearing it, and I'm sure some of you guys have experienced it. And I guess it depends on the relationship that you have with your parents, but somebody saying it to you probably won't make that much of a difference. But I sometimes thought, why didn't anybody say anything? Why didn't anybody say anything? You know what I mean? And how come my experience is so different than what I saw these people experience? They was all right. You know what I mean? They're sad. Maybe you see a tear at the actual funeral, but that was kind of it. But what I felt, I mean, I'm laughing now, but I was like, dang, just, how are we going to do this? You know what I mean? And so I feel like as an adult, there are things like that maybe are just a very individual experience that nobody else experiences. And for me, that was one of them. It was like, oh, this is I thought I could do, but no, you know what I mean? And so, I hope it's not too triggering, but I had to, we got to be real on, it's the collective. So we talk real stuff around here. It's not all celebrity and Kardashians and all of this. We talking real over here. You know what I mean? And so that was a situation that I thought, dang, nobody warned me. Not a soul warned me. You know what I mean? Not even from my own observations of the realities. You know what I mean? Because sometimes maybe people can't warn you, but maybe you can observe something. Even my observation of it didn't warn me. You know what I mean? And so it took a couple years to get on feet, but we got there. You know what I mean? But that's something that I just was like, dang, nobody said anything, And I think the reality of them not saying anything is because what can they say? It's like they can't warn you. Nobody can tell, nobody can tell you what maybe your childbirth is going to be like. You know what I mean? You can watch videos or you can get an understanding for somebody else, but you never know unless you go through it, right? And so I feel like maybe that's why, but I kind of wish that somebody expressed it, because when you're going through it, at least you know that you're not alone in it, and kind of alleviating some of that loneliness that we talk about as an adult. So anyway, all right. Oh my God. All right. That was heavy. Can we lighten it up? Can we lighten it up a little bit? I see you guys showing support in the chat. I appreciate you guys so much. a little H2O to lighten the energy. I know we're talking heavy things sometimes, but we're going to bring it back up. It is Friday night. After all, decompressing from the week and just like talking the things, you know what I mean? Growing up is a whole scam. Stay young forever. Peter Pan syndrome. Cheers. Clink, 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 clink. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look in the comments. Let's take a spin around the comments and see what you guys are saying. DB is saying that yes, even being with someone, I feel very lonely at times. I can't explain it, right? Right? I feel like as adults, you get lonely, even when you're married, even when you're with a partner. If you guys haven't already, smash that like button and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Sometimes YouTube unsubscribes you and you don't even realize. Liking the channel, engaging the content, and making sure you're subscribed is a free and easy way to support the channel. So I appreciate you guys so much if you would do that. Make sure you're liking, making sure you're commenting, and please make sure you're subscribed. Thank you for this little commercial break. Back to the comments. Yeah, DB says, lonely, he can't explain it. And then DB says, I'm a New Yorker. New York, NYC can be very lonely city. So many mixes of people. And you would think that the mixes of people and you could find your tribe or you could find your community, but sometimes it's very difficult to find. I will say that that loneliness sometimes, and I'm going to go a little bit spiritual here, sometimes that loneliness is an account of seeking outside of you and maybe looking for that connection outside, whether it's trying to look for it in a community or trying to look for it in a relationship and it not fully filling you. And I think it's a part of the human experience to be a part of a community, to be a part of a family, and to be in relationships. So I think that is a part of the experience. But I think sometimes that loneliness comes from a disconnection from the divine and a disconnection from your higher self. And so sometimes that means self-care, you know, to reestablish that connection with yourself and with the divine and with your higher self, so that to assuage some of that loneliness. So that might be taking baths, like Peace and Love said. That might be meditating. That might be going on a solo trip. That might be praying. That might be going to church and asking for special blessing for you to feel reconnected to the divine. That might be reading, you know, a self-help book or just doing something that you and you alone want to do. Like just what you want to do. It might be going for a bike ride or going for a hike, reconnecting with nature, grounding, walking outside barefoot, going at sunrise. Sunrise, going on a walk or a jog or a bike run at sunrise and let that morning sun hit you and that morning dew. Oh my God, that really can pacify and soothe a lot of internal angst that loneliness, you know, is. So a lot of times if you're feeling lonely, even if you're in a relationship, you can pour into yourself and try to pour the love and pour the attention onto yourself. And I think sometimes that does help with the loneliness. Yeah. Auntie Gang, Laura is saying, yes, Auntie Gang. Laura Leveros is saying, and I think Laura was here last week or the week before that. Good looking out, girl. Thanks for being here. The generation before us is called the silent generation. So the baby boomers are right before us. Before them is the silent generation. They just hold their head down and do work. The frustration was taken out on us. So I believe the silent generation was the one before baby boomers. And then the baby boomers, and then millennials and Gen X and millennials. And then there's like Gen Z and TikTok generation and all of that. And so they really just hold their head down and take out. Laura, that's pretty accurate, sis. That's pretty accurate. They just hold their head down and take out their frustration. So it's really up to us to process and to do the work to process a lot of what they were unable to process, because they were really operating in survival mode. You know what I mean? Just survive. Just keep the lights on. Just keep enough food in the fridge to pay for these mouths. You know what I mean? And I think for us, I think a lot of us are in survival mode, but hopefully we are starting to gain our footing where we can shift out of survival mode and shift into more thriving, stable, and then thriving mode. And then we can start to process some of those traumas so we don't continue to keep dropping it on the next generation. So, but I feel you on that, girl. All right. Rubes is saying, yes, even if you have a spouse, you said it. I think it's based on Western living, okay? I'd be curious if this feeling exists in Eastern cultures who typically live with large family communities. I don't know. You know what I mean? Do Eastern people who live in Eastern-based society, not so much Westernized civilization, but Eastern civilization, do they feel as lonely? Maybe not. Maybe not, but I agree. It probably does have something to do with a little bit of the Western civilization and the way we operate in the West, especially if you're people of color and you're generationally used to a more communal way of living, where it's intergenerational, where the grandparents live with the parents, live with the children. You know what I mean? If your ancestry usually lives that way, but now you live in America and you live very nuclear family where it's just husband, wife, children, dog, maybe that does affect, how you feel, because it's just, not how our ancestors typically lived. I feel you. I feel you on that. Yeah. I'm getting heartbreaking hugs for my story. I mean, I just, I had to say that because I was like, nobody said a word to me. You know what I mean? And so I just, sometimes I used to worry about, like, how are my friends going to deal with this? Because, I don't know how they're going to deal with this, but one breath at a time. One breath at a time. We are here healing ourselves. Yes. Yeah, I remember you telling me about that experience. Yeah. Super auntie. Laura's saying, when I lived in NYC, I was blessed to connect with a classmate from elementary school and my god sister. Reconnecting with them prevented cabin fever. And that and paying extra for express bus. I thought you were gonna say hugs, because I know some of these cities, they have this service where you can physical touch. And so you can go and cuddle with, you could pay money and cuddle with a professional cuddler. Have you guys seen that? I think that soothes some of the loneliness as well. And professional cuddlers, I've seen that come through on news and YouTube and things like that. I'm like, can you imagine we live in a society where we so lonely, we gotta pay for the cuddles? But you know what, look, people have been paying for a lot more than cuddles, so I get it. And then also, the other thing is that massages. If you are feeling lonely and, again, that pouring into yourself, you could get a massage, like Massage Envy, or sometimes there's a lot of Asian massages, feet massage, full body massage, all of those things as well. So yeah, that is, that can definitely help if you're dealing with the loneliness of being an adulting and all of that. I see Anna in the building. Thanks so much for joining, sis. You know what I mean? The professional cuddler seems fun, right? I don't know. What if they're like skeevy? I don't know. I guess you could like go in and like cuddle for 2 minutes, and if you don't like it, just be like, bye. I don't know. But yeah, just another way. Anna, we were talking about all the things of adulting that the people them do not warn us about. The people them do not warn us about. But we got into some of the things tonight, and I think we got a few topics off. Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about? Any other things that you notice as an adult that nobody warned you about? Anything? We talked about aging. We talked about, there's one thing. We should pick from a lineup. Oh, for the professional cuddlers. Yes, I feel you. So we talked about, okay, guys, I think we can wrap it up. Career management. Ooh, yes. career management. I was thinking about doing a series on that, Laura, and how to manage your career. But yeah, they really don't, especially if you're not in the same career that maybe your parents weren't professionals and maybe you are a professional, or maybe, maybe your parents were professionals and now you are a freelancer or an entrepreneur. Like, especially when you are deviating from where your family was doing, and now you are the first one. You're the pilgrim. We were talking about this earlier, Rubes, where you're the pilgrim and you're in a new frontier, and now you're having to chop down the forest to build the house from scratch. You know what I mean? And so you don't have anybody to rely on how to manage your career, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a business professional or something like that. Like, that is serious, Laura. That is serious. We'll have to talk about that a little bit more. I do these videos so you're not out here alone in this sometimes crazy living, loving, dating, adulting world. If this is your first time here, I would love to have you subscribe. And if you are an oldie but a goodie, good looking out, thank you so much for being here. Replay gang, if you're not catching us live, drop this emoji in the chat. Let me know your thoughts on tonight's topic. Staying young forever, adulting is a whole scam. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will respond to each and every one. This is week 17 of our Friday Night Lives, where we go live each and every Friday night. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm feeling like the consistency is up, and I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking for maybe number 20, we'll do something a little bit special. Maybe I'll have a guest on. If you have any ideas of what we should do for episode 20, when we get there, let me know. Slide in my DMs on Instagram. It's KELLS on Instagram, 3 S's. Or slide in my comments here on the community tab on YouTube. And let me know what you think the dolls should do for Kickback number 20. It's coming up because this is number 17. We're looking at 18, 19, and then we're looking at 20. And we will be here. It's the consistency. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I think we got into a little deep conversation tonight. Hopefully it wasn't too heavy, but I know you guys appreciate the learning from the collective wisdom of the itskellscollective community. So it's not always pop culture and Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. Sometimes we get into the deep stuff. Sometimes we talk about the things that we wish somebody would have told us. And I feel like that's what we got into tonight. I appreciate you guys so much. Smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed and your notifications are on. And I will catch you guys again, same time, same place next week. Bye for now, guys.